It's Wednesday, September 29. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. The government has added $33 billion in expenditure to its 2021-2022 budget. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark gave the rationale for the increase as he addressed the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
A major focus of the supplementary estimate is addressing the intensification of COVID-19 by providing additional resources to the health sector, increased resources for the most vulnerable, along with funding for other critical areas of expenditure. Madam Speaker, the first supplementary estimates are being tabled in the context of government revenues exceeding budgetary targets by $17.3 billion for the 4 months, April to July of 2021. This is reflective of the estimated robust economic growth of 12.9% for the first quarter of this year as the economy begins a strong recovery from COVID-19. Total expenditure is being increased by approximately $33 billion, while total revenues are being revised upwards by $33.5 billion for the full fiscal year.
And we will provide a closer look at the revised estimates in Thursday's edition of the Business Report. The government's goal is to have universal internet access on the island by 2030. The advent of COVID-19 has given greater impetus for this goal as the country's broadband needs have increased. Speaking from the floor of the Parliament on Tuesday, Science, Energy and Technology Minister Darrell Vaz gave an update on the government's plans.
Minister Vaz provided updates on wide-ranging initiatives. One major plank is the expansion of the government fiber optic cable and microwave infrastructure. He admitted that the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the build-out of this infrastructure.
One of the biggest risks that we now face to the expansion of the fiber optic and microwave backbone is a disruption to the international supply chain because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has resulted in significant delays in delivery of accessories and equipment, including routers, which are critical to the execution of this work. So that when we are talking about timelines, Madam Speaker, for completion, we are now required to factor in significant delays which affect not only the government's activities, but also those private sector contractors and partners who are working alongside us.
He also reported on the expansion of public Wi-Fi hotspots. The minister said the goal is to have 189 established in this financial year.
We are proceeding with the implementation in 4 phases. And let me just stop there. Based on a discussion I had and a meeting I'm to have on Thursday, I'm seeking to change from 4 phases to 3 phases and to have everything completed for the 189 Wi-Fi hotspots by the end of this financial year, which means March 2022. And if you take a look, Madam Speaker and colleagues, at the screen, you will see what Jamaica will look like after those 189 hotspots have been put in. And that, Madam Speaker, picture only represents 129 because 60 have yet to be selected that are in the process now. So just imagine 60 more of those dots and what that will do for Jamaica.
Mr. Darrell Vaz also addressed the issue of schools and internet accessibility. He said that of the 980 public schools, more than 399 have poor internet service and 220 are without access to the internet. Blame was placed on a lack of communication infrastructure in the communities where the schools are located. However, he assured that the government has a multi-tier plan to address the issue in schools as well as 48 places of safety. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, says he has received reports of fake vaccination cards being sold. We hear more from Simone Absalom Gale.
Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the issue of fake vaccination cards is being investigated by the authorities. He says faking vaccination cards or selling them is a criminal act.
We do have the database of all persons who have been vaccinated legitimately, and as a consequence can validate or verify or cross-check to see if someone with a card is in fact vaccinated. However, I think the injury here that we're trying to address is the extent to which the cards can be manipulated. And we are looking at how we can move from a paper-based signature and stamped card, which clearly has greater risks in terms of manipulation, despite the fact that it can be validated through the database cross-checking, to a more digitized approach.
Dr. Tufton says his ministry is in possession of a software that can be retrofitted to track vaccinated persons and their cards.
We had announced and unveiled it some months ago. This is a UNICEF facility that we had adopted and tailored it to what we have in-house in the ministry. So it really would be to add another leg to that, which is how we digitize on a card for persons. I think that process has to take place, and we need to move speedily towards it for more than one reason, not just for the one you raise, but also for the fact that our capacity as a country to interact with other countries for trade or otherwise, like the US, is going to be impacted if we do not conform to those standards that require validation of vaccination.
He also alluded to a recent U.S. announcement that starting November, only visitors who are vaccinated will be allowed in that country.
It then raises now the issue of how do you prove that you are.
Jamaica's Chief Medical Officer, Mrs. Jacqueline Bethesda McKenzie, speaking at a high-level Pan-American Health Organization meeting recently, asked that the World Health Organization and PAHO intervene to ensure that essential medicines and health technologies that have gone through the rigors of approval are recognized and accepted globally. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Simone Absalom Gale.
Despite our relatively small size, Jamaica has produced many individuals that have impacted global history. Many of these Jamaicans have excelled in areas such as sports, music, business, or politics. In 2017, a Jamaican woman, Violet Moss Brown, created history in a different way. She was certified then as the oldest living person on the planet and the fourth oldest person in history. She died 5 months after a brief illness on September 15, 2017. She was 117. At the direction of the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Babsy-Grange, a storyboard of her life was erected in her Unveiled Trelawney hometown in September 2021. Born in Unveiled Trelawney, Mrs. Violet Moss Brown was in 2017 the verified oldest living person in the world and the fourth oldest person in history. The super centurion died on September 15, 2017. The heavens smiled, providing a light shower at the unveiling ceremony of a storyboard on the anniversary of her death.
She was one of those special persons who was a part of a special club. Not many people get a chance to be a part of it. As a Centenarian.
Yes, yes.
And that is very important.
Thank you. I know.
And when the minister decided to do this and inform me about it, I was very happy.
Yes.
Because I immediately understood the value of what is being done.
Right, right.
Today we are choosing to immortalize her.
Yes.
So that her life, her story,
yes,
can live on and on and on throughout this community. And we can use this as a benefit for the community as well, going down the line. Who knows?
Yes.
You know, we can probably use it as an attraction, Minister.
Yes, yes.
And I just want to thank the Minister for what she has done. Because I believe a society is measured by how we treat our
elders, yes.
And so thank you, Minister, again.
At a later date, we will have an appropriate function. At this time, because of the pandemic, we cannot have a function. And that is why the actual bust is ready. If you notice, this is it. It's a photo of it. Yes. It's ready to be installed.
Yes. And we are proud of that.
To be mounted here.
Yes.
But because we can't have the function at this time, we have decided to just pick up the storyboard on our passing, the anniversary of our passing. And in doing so, we will continue to commemorate her memory and to memorialize her.
In an increasingly virtual world, the can't-miss storyboard erected in her hometown of Unveiled, Trelawney grabs and keeps the attention of all who sees it. The compelling storyboard uses both words and visuals for maximum impact.
We want to keep this history alive, and I want to say that thanks to the family for allowing us this great opportunity.
I have instituted the Wallace Marcel Foundation in order to keep her legacy and her memory alive.
At her passing, the Super Centenarian's body was reportedly donated to the University of the West Indies, Mona, for research. Fishermen have an important role in Jamaica's food security. Fishery products also contribute to the country's foreign exchange earnings. Fishing activities carry a high risk of accidents. In the past, fishermen in Jamaica did not readily have access to insurance products designed specifically for them. That has changed. Fishermen now have insurance that protects and empowers them. Marlon Samuels has more in this report.
The tranquil appearance of the sea camouflages the fact that fishing is a high-risk job. Fishermen not only have to contend with climate change and all kinds of weather conditions on the high seas, they face challenges which can result in injuries and even death. Fishing vessels have been swept away by waves due to failed engines. Others have capsized. Still others sink. There are also reports of fishermen being held up by pirates or having to wrestle sharks. Others have gone missing, never to be seen again. Those involved in compression diving also run the risk of drowning.
So it is for these reasons that the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries has partnered, Madam Speaker, with GK Insurance to introduce the parametric rain, drought, and wind insurance policy for the agricultural sector, and to support the resilience of our farmers and fisherfolk. The Ministry, in supporting the introduction of the insurance policy, has provided $5 million to incentivize farmers and fisherfolk to subscribe to the parametric crop and livestock insurance scheme. The funds will be used to subsidize the initial premium for the first 1,000 farmers who sign up for the GK Weather Protect insurance coverage.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, in collaboration with Advantage General Insurance Company, recently launched an insurance package that provides a safety net against loss or damage to fishing vessels and fishing gear by fire, malicious acts, hurricane, earthquake, and other perils onshore or offshore in Jamaican waters. In March 2021, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries joined forces with Guardian Life Insurance Company to provide a health insurance coverage for fishermen. Among the benefits are doctor's visits, prescription drugs, surgical, hospitalization, dental, optical, maternity, group life, personal accident, and critical illness. The insurance products being offered will improve the welfare of Jamaican fishermen. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
We now get the latest market updates in this quick business report.
In foreign exchange trading for Tuesday, September 28, the US dollar sold for an average $149.45. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $118.98. The pound sterling traded for $205.30, and the euro sold for an average $175.97. In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 2,546 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 89 stocks, of which 42 advanced, 29 declined, and 18 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 36 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Paints Jamaica Limited. Stocks declined for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Cargo Handlers Limited, and Caribbean Cream Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Variable Preference, CAC 2000 9.5% Preference Shares, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Proven Investments Limited USD was the volume leader with over 64.9 million units, followed by Barita Investments Limited with over 38 million units and NCB Financial Group Limited with over 2.5 million units. In market data for oil, Brent crude futures lost 0.37% to settle at $78.06 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures slid 0.31% to $75.06 a barrel. And that does it for this Wednesday edition of the Business Report Inside the News on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
Are you prone to headaches, especially during moments of stress or tension? In today's Living Healthy report, Dr. Heather Lawson-Myers shares the 3 main sources of a headache and shares one simple solution. Say hello to pain-free living.
HD. Welcome to another episode of HD's Jazz. Do you notice I'm actually in the root of this fabulous tree? I wonder how old it is. It sits right here in the Royal Hope Botanical Gardens, named after a British officer, Major Richard Hope. Major Hope was credited as being one of the officers who liberated Jamaica from the Spaniards in 1655. He was then gifted a wide parcel of land spreading from the hills of Newcastle to the sea, and Hope Gardens just happens to be a little part of that paradise. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about headaches. This place is so peaceful. Oh my goodness. I feel so relaxed. This world is so full of stress, it's very easy to become tense. And one of the challenges with being tense is being plagued with headaches. Stress goes together with headaches. What causes headaches though? They can be caused from vessels, they can be caused from nerves, or they can be caused from muscles. And the majority of headaches, believe it or not, are due to muscle challenges. You see these things here, these teeth? We respond to pain by crunching or grinding. We get tense. So regardless of what causes the headache, it can be exacerbated by just clenching or grinding all the time. And the truth is you don't even recognize it. Or If you are in a situation where you're always under pressure, you may be naturally clenching and grinding all the time. And a simple oral device might be just the thing that is needed to prevent you from clenching or grinding. So whether your headache has lasted for a day, weeks, months, or even years, sometimes wearing a simple oral appliance can lessen or totally eliminate your headache and put you in a place where you're just able to enjoy all of this fabulous nature. Nobody likes to have pain, and a headache can be quite debilitating. What if a dental solution could either lessen the pain or remove the pain? It's possible. So if you find that your teeth are constantly together and you're clenching or you're grinding, recognize that that action may either create a headache or exacerbate a headache. Think about it. See you next time on HD's Jazz.
In regional news, we begin in St. Lucia. Commuters are urged to consider offering a tip-to-cash-strapped bus operators. The hard-hit transportation sector continues to feel the debilitating effects of the medical and financial pressures of the fourth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have more in this report.
The general population in St. Lucia rely heavily on public transportation. The sector has been rocked by the ravages of the fourth wave of the pandemic. The last figures released to the public noted that over 50 drivers were stricken with illness from the respiratory disease, with a number of routes adversely impacted.
The information that we gave the past few weeks, we've been monitoring closely because one death within the transportation sector is too many. However, there seems to be some stability in terms of the death. However, we still have operators who are infected or are getting infected.
First Vice President of the National Council on Public Transportation, Kentry Frederick, a guest on the GIS Tuesday morning program, was quizzed on COVID-19 vaccine acceptance among the bus lobby's membership. The life-saving doses have been proven to lessen the severity of cases and the odds of death.
Are the members open to vaccination?
We have a lot of operators who have been vaccinated. We have a lot of operators who are now beginning to understand what the vaccination, what the testing is all about.
Frederick says the Ministries of Education and Health are working on the vaccine site logistics. The health crisis is not the only affliction facing operators. The financial burden of the pandemic is also taking a toll on some drivers.
A luxury minibus have to make 10 to 11 trips, maybe back and forth for the day, to go home with $60. That's the harsh reality. So just imagine a whole day's work at luxury to go home with $60, $70. And you do that 3 times a week, which means for a week $180. By the month, you make nowhere near $1,000. Your loan is 1.5 or 2, depending on what vehicle you have. And remember, all operators that changed their buses was not out of style, was to give the passenger or the consumer a better service.
The first Vice President of the NCOPT points to the possible stark consequences of the imposition of harsh penalties on operators.
What if you decide you are sending this bus driver home for 2 or 3 passengers that he's reported to? 2 things can happen. He's not making the quota to pay his loan or to feed his family, which is already terrible. You fine him $100 based on the association's Constitution and all the little rules in there, you can fine or you can suspend. Don't you think the possibility exists where this operator being sent home for a week, 2-3 days, cannot make anything? The sad reality is that he may be contemplating suicide. Have we ever looked at that as a nation? And that is the that is the thing we need to tell. There are operators who probably contemplating suicide because of the pressures, not just of COVID, but the financial pressure, and then all of that is mounting up.
Frederick is advocating a greater show of compassion for the continued viability of the transportation sector.
We know finance is tied by everybody, but sometimes consider for the day. Probably just leave an extra 50 cents or $1 for the driver to give him a little car. Just a good deed.
The local bus official says frank, fruitful discussions among the transport officials have led to the pledge of additional support from both public and private interest who depend on the omnibuses. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
A government subvention is being secured to pay hundreds of employees of Lake Asphalt of Trinidad and Tobago. Minister of Energy and Energy Industry Stuart Young says this is the second time for 2021 the company has had to be rescued. Terry Ann Brown Campbell tells us more.
Approval for funds to pay Lake Asphalt of Trinidad and Tobago's expenses, including salaries, is being sought from Cabinet by Minister of Energy and Energy Industry Stuart Young. The minister adds he has already asked the Ministry of Finance to prioritize the money. This as he responded to the issue of a protest at the company on Tuesday. Dozens of the company's workers knelt outside its gates to highlight the non-payment of their July and August salaries. President of the Lake Asphalt branch of the Contractors and General Workers Trade Union, Rayburn Nobel, says the monthly paid employees have not received their wages for the last few months.
Financially, Lake Asphalt have no money to pay workers. So they have asked since June that the government intervene and give us subvention. We have been waiting patiently, hoping it would bear fruit.
Mr. Nobel adds that the hourly weekly paid employees have not been paid for the last 6 weeks. He stresses that over the period, the employees have become desperate.
Today, we are asking, we are begging. We are no longer self-respecting trade unionists. We have lost our self-respect because we're hungry. Our families are seeing us kneeling, and forever that vision would be in their mind. Look mommy, look daddy kneeling down, begging for money that they work for already in Trinidad and Tobago.
The Ministry of Energy and Energy Industry says it is currently looking at how Lake Asphalt of Trinidad and Tobago can become self-sustainable, as it is not acceptable for Lake Asphalt to continue depending on subventions from the Treasury to cover its wages and expenses. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTD News.
And in sports, runners and walkers from Jamaica and 30 countries across the globe will reportedly be disappointed that the Reggae Marathon, half marathon and 10K set for December 5 will once again be virtual. This was announced by organizers of the annual event, the Jam Dammers Running Club of Kingston. Race director Alfred Franco Francis says participants will be required to complete their run between November 13 and December 5, 2021 on a course of their choice. Local and international runners will also have the choice of running along the Reggae Marathon course in Negril. Runners and walkers who had previously registered for the in-person event from 2020 through to 2021 will reportedly be able to compete in the in-person race set for December 4, 2022. And that's our package. You just watched the news on PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.